Somewhere inside every commercial aircraft flying today, there is a small, nearly indestructible device. It records everything, every conversation in the cockpit, every alarm, every warning, every word spoken in the final moments. It's called the cockpit voice recorder. And when investigators pull it from the wreckage, what they hear is sometimes shocking. Confusion, panic, arguments, pilots who knew something was wrong but couldn't bring themselves to say it. Today, we're opening 2 black boxes, 2 crashes, 2 cockpits, 2 sets of pilots who tried to communicate and failed. And the terrifying thing, both disasters could have been avoided with a single sentence. August 6, 1997, 1 a.m. Korean Air Flight 801 was on approach to Guam International Airport. On board, 254 people, passengers, crew, families on vacation. In the cockpit, Captain Park Yong-chul, a highly experienced pilot with nearly 9,000 flight hours. Alongside him, First Officer Song and Flight Engineer Nam. It was raining heavily over Guam. Visibility was reduced. The crew was attempting an instrument approach to guide them to the runway. But there was a critical problem they didn't fully know about. The glide slope, which tells pilots their descent angle, was out of service. A maintenance notice called a NOTAM had been issued, but the crew had not properly registered this. Captain Park believed the glide slope was working. His co-pilot and engineer were not so sure, and that was the beginning of the end. January 25, 1990, Avianca Flight 052, a Boeing 707 flying from Bogota, was trying to land at New York's JFK Airport. The weather was brutal. Planes were stacked in holding patterns across the sky. Flight 052 had been holding for over an hour, and inside that cockpit, the fuel was running out. When controllers asked how much longer they could hold, the first officer replied, "About 5 minutes." The controller acknowledged. What the controller didn't know was that 5 minutes didn't mean they had time to divert. It meant they had 5 minutes before the engines would die. The crew needed to declare an emergency, but the crew of Avianca 052 never said that word. 2 syllables that would have changed everything. At 9:34 p.m., all 4 engines flamed out. Avianca 052 fell out of the sky. 73 people died because one word was never spoken. And here is where the black box reveals something deeply human and deeply tragic. On the voice recorder, investigators heard the flight engineer ask, "Is the glide slope working?" The captain answered immediately, Yes, it's working." Minutes later, the first officer noted quietly, "Not usable." The captain did not respond. The co-pilot and engineer knew the approach was wrong, but Korean Air's cockpit culture in 1997 was built on hierarchy. Questioning the captain directly was simply not done. At 1:42 a.m., the first officer finally said it. "Let's make a missed approach." The captain did not react. 4 seconds later, the engineer added, "Go around." It was too late. Flight 801 struck Nimitz Hill. 229 of the 254 people on board were killed because they couldn't find the words. They just couldn't bring themselves to challenge the man in charge. In time, subscribe for the final part of the Aviation Files. These disasters taught aviation a vital lesson. It's not enough to know something is wrong. You must say it, clearly, loudly, using the right words. Korean Air 801 accelerated the global adoption of crew resource management training, specifically targeting cockpit cultures where silence was the rule. English became the mandatory language of the cockpit. The airline's culture was fundamentally restructured. Within a decade, Korean Air became one of the world's safest airlines. The cockpit voice recorder, the black box, became the most powerful safety tool in aviation. Because pilots now know it records every word, every hesitation, the black box made silence unacceptable. And that has saved thousands of lives. It ensures that in the sky, every voice is heard. The black box heard everything they didn't say. If this series stayed with you, subscribe. Speak up. It matters.